Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday, it's May 21st. This will be our chart lesson for today. And this is really kind of a fairly typical FOMC kind of day. All the movement was early, and then as the market opened, it just kind of bounced around with not out much direction. We went into this trading range, and generally, I was actually surprised to see it break lower here. And we'll talk about this area because I know a lot of people got trapped right here. I've got at least 3 or 4 emails about that one particular setup. So we'll discuss that, and I'll explain it the best way I know how to explain it, and we can go from there. But definitely spent most of the day in a trading range. We got a breakout to the low side, and right now failed breakout to the upside. And for the moment, we're back in the channel, and there's probably even this is probably the first break of this upward channel, but we maybe not be able to get back out of the trading range. But there's also probably need to have the trend line working back up just so you know when it's safe to uh, when this is over on the way back up, in other words. But my guess is we're headed for a retest after this trend channel right here break, if we can get that to work out. But let's talk about the trades real quickly, and I'll show you what I saw. And and again, I didn't mark anything much after about 11 o'clock. There's actually a setup right here, but it didn't happen until 1 o'clock. So I don't, if you saw that, there's a great second entry long right there. It's towards the highs, but with a reversal that big and this being a bigger channel, you figure you're probably going to get through there and go to the upper side. So if you saw that and you could get your order in, no reason that you couldn't have taken that long. But that's really all I've seen. Maybe even a long right there. But I just think it's really, um, it's hard to get in these trades when they happen like that. But I just think you're better off just sit on the sidelines and let the emotions finish up and run their course, and then maybe consider trading again if you want to trade some more. So let's talk about the trades I saw. First trade I saw this morning was right here. It's a second entry long. We got a little channel working up. It's also a breakout pullback, second entry long, because we broke above this little high from yesterday, and we actually had some matching highs across there, but we broke a high up above it, higher above it, pull back, first entry, pull back, second entry long right there. I probably would have waited on this bar, waited on it to break and drop a limit order in, but even if you use a stop, it would have worked. But it's not a very good setup bar, as you can see there. Um, it's kind of negative, so wait on this one, and even it's not a beautiful bar, but we were finding resistance because of this. And when this one broke higher, I definitely would have dropped a limit order there if you didn't already have a stop in place. And you can see it took off rather quickly. Then we get a little two-legged pullback. Normally I wouldn't have marked this trade, or I would have marked it green. But the reason I like this one is this is considered a new low. It's a double bottom, but you can count that as a new low. First entry short, pullback. There's a second entry short, and then even another little trap there, and it trapped people. And there's a little tiny doji with those matching lows right there. You could get in this with uh, about a 2 tick stop, so very little risk, and it turns out to be a great trade. And then you get a second entry long here off of this, and this one's back towards the high. It didn't go a long way, but it's like a little breakout pullback, because this is like a little trading range, and so it's just a second chance to get in. And you got to figure we're headed back up to the higher side most likely, especially with all these failures to the downside. So, but I felt like that one, because of the trap, was okay to be a little, it's not quite as aggressive, but this one's being a little more aggressive. But you see what a good trade it is, and then it pulls back again, and you get another second entry long right there. Easy trade. And then this one barely goes higher and kind of gets hung up, and there is a second entry there, but this is the one I don't think you take. It would have worked, but you can't go long right there. Too many times that will not break through and pull back to this side. We were overdue for a pullback to this side. Look how long we've been away from the EMA. Look how that didn't go very far, and then this one didn't go much further either, and then it's correcting pretty strongly. So there was actually a second entry long. This was your first entry right here, and then when you had those matching highs, there's actually a hidden second entry long, but you don't want to go long right there out of that congestion. It's too many overlap, too many bars. So wait on the second entry, which comes right here, and this is not a perfect setup bar, but notice that double bottom and another retest of it. So you got a low and a double test. I like that for a long right there. You know, you might consider a limit order, and it would have gotten filled back down to the top of the bar. I know, maybe even a tick into it, but I would have used a limit order, and that should be blue. I don't know why I got that red. Let's change that to blue. Sorry about that. So that's definitely a long, not a short. And you go long right there, and you get a second entry long right here, but counting off this new low, but it's so close to those highs. It would have worked, but I don't like it. So I would have just sat tight right there. And then you get your failed breakout. Notice how this goes straight down. No rejection at all at the EMA. It comes underneath. Easily goes right on past that right there. And then it backs up. And it tries to go lower once and then tries to go higher again. And then tries it again and turns down. Look how bearish that is. And it's all right off that line. And you're probably coming down to here for sure. So good place to go short right there. It's a good clean short. Nothing wrong with it. Nice bearish bar. Quick move down, and it goes right on through there. It hesitates a minute, then it pulls back and tests it. Then it pulls back and tests it again. But by that time, look at all those bars stacked up right there. There's too big a chance this thing breaks lower and turns right back up, which it does, but it goes far enough to get you a scalp. But I don't think you can risk that right there, because this trend has been strong, and there's been no proof that we really got a strong downtrend. Now this right here is where I really got the questions. Let me move everything out of the way. I got 2 or 3, maybe 4 charts on this right here in questions. You can see it. There's not a very good setup on my chart, but it looked better on some charts. Notice the new low, pull back, first entry, pull back, and then you get a second entry short. Well, you don't want to go short below that bar. So you need a good bearish bar, but look how it closes back inside that bar, and it's just not a very good setup. But even if you decided to use that one, you might wait on a break and then use a limit order, but it never triggers on my chart. And then the second entry short fails and goes long, and you can't, I didn't make that one blue either. That should be blue, not red. And so with that failed second entry short, a higher double bottom, yeah, I like that trap. And you know there's a lot of people trapped there. And, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that there were a lot of people trapped there, because I got all the emails about it. There's, you know, other than all of the congestion and the fact that you're not really getting strong rejection off of this, and you don't have a good signal bar, plus you don't really have a trigger of it, that's really all you got to go on right there. You get the break right here, you close outside, and it tries to come back the second time, and when that fails, and you had to remember this was a trading range, and so even though you got a little trend line right here, and this could have been a little steeper, maybe it was more like this, and there's your break. Let's just see how that fits. I didn't play with it much, and it, you know, it fits okay. I liked it better the way I actually had it. Right across there like so. So you get the close outside and you try to go lower, and it reverses on that failed second entry. That's the only thing that really would keep you out of there. There's not real strong rejection. There's a second entry, but it never really triggers, because you can't go short below that big bullish bar, because you know what's going to happen. It's probably going to pull back, even if it's going to go lower. So you're better off to wait. So that's really all you got that you can say about that. Otherwise, it's just a short trap, and it fooled a lot of people. And there's not much else you can say about it. And then again, there is a long right here. And you could actually go long right here because notice that double bottom. You can treat this as a new low. First entry short, pull back, second entry short that fails. So you could have considered going long right there, looking at this a trout, but there's a lot of time passed and a lot of, we moved a good bit to the top. So, and you're not back down here. So I don't think you really want to go long right there. You're better off to wait on this one. And that's right at the 1 o'clock hour. I don't know if you could have got into that trade or not. So I think you're better off just to sit tight, and that's really all we had, and we really haven't had anything worth taking since then. So, but let me show you a couple of other charts I've got here. Hopefully I've still got them. Here's one somebody sent me, and they drew theirs similar to mine. He didn't use the closes here, so his stuff is not outside. But again, look. All the overlap. He's actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars stacked up there. And you do have a nice bearish bar, but look, it's inside a doji, a big doji. And so that's, you know what's going to happen. Even if it breaks out, it's probably going to snap back and then go lower. So you could actually draw your matching highs and lows there. So his setup looks better than mine. I could see taking that. I really could. So, there's not much else I can say other than it's not a perfect setup, and we've had 3 legs down, which is a fairly big move, and he doesn't even have the EMA on here, so you can't be looking at you need to, the EMA is important, it's an important tool, so I say put it on there. And you can see on mine that we're bouncing right off of it there. It tells you a lot of important information, so I like to have that EMA, and I think this is the same chart. Let me see if I can, I'll pause it. Okay, here's another one. He had his channel working down as well. He's got the break here, close outside, then a second leg up, and then again, he's got this doji right in the middle, and then this is another doji right in the middle, and so that's not a really good setup bar. It's not showing any bearishness. This is really not showing rejection off the EMA. It's showing rejection right in the middle, showing rejection off here and slightly off here, but not enough to, and notice the big bearish move down, and we're overdue for a correction. So, again, other than those clues, there's just really not any. And this is why I say, if it's not a strong downtrend, you need a really good setup. And this is, even though this looks pretty bearish right here, this is not a strong downtrend. There's been a channel, and this is a little failed break lower here, and then we reversed and went right back into it. So again, that's really all you had to go on, was you don't have a very good setup. Look at all those dojis stacked across there. That's just like right here. You don't want to be entering in that stuff. Okay, and look, here's another one. It's a third chart, same thing. His is all inside the channel as well. He does get a really bearish bar here, but again, look at that big doji. Just about everybody's chart had that big doji stacked up beside that one, and that one. And this one's, where nothing was closing below that. That's an important level right there. Even the next doji couldn't close below that. And so it's not a perfect setup, although I could see why you would take that. So just remember, after moving down that far and getting a correction back, again, I can see why people got trapped there, and I guarantee you the way that took off right there, they trapped a lot of people. And there's, sometimes that happens. There's just no good explanation. The only thing I can see that would have kept you out of it are a couple of clues. Is one, the congestion, and then 2, the the fact that this was an inside bar. When this one, well, it's too late now when this one broke lower, because that's when the second entry triggered. But these big stems right here are telling you something. It doesn't mean that you can't go lower either, But that's telling you there's a lot of buying coming in there. For whatever reason, there's a lot of buying coming in there. And when this broke lower and closed right there, um, that's a good place to be thinking about reversing right there, because now you got the short trap and you know there's a good second entry short there, or at least one that looks really good as far as just being a second entry in a downtrend right off a trend line. All that looks good coming off the EMA. But the only clues that I see that might keep you out of this are all the dojis, the fact that this is a, it's up and down, there's stems on both sides, and then this one's just still right in the middle, even though it's bearish. And notice how they couldn't close across there any lower. And if you did get hung in this, when this come back up here and closed up here, just get out. Definitely don't wait for this to happen. There's no reason to take the stop way up there. You got a failed second entry short with all those stems. What you can count on at a minimum is from this point, a measured move up that's equal to this, because that's really your first leg. And so I would measure that from there to there and start right here, and I'd be looking for that at least to be my target. And in this case, of course, it just kept on going. It just got back in the range, and now we're back in the range, and we're still playing the range. There's a fairly decent setup bar right there, but again, notice how you hadn't had a break of that. So the odds are it might tick down here and then push for the retest, although sometimes on a range day you may not get a retest. So you got to think about that right there. Even though that looks like a really good second entry short, I don't think I would be taking it, because look at your trend line right here. There's been no break of that. And that's the other thing here that I meant to talk about, is that you can see that working up through there, I drew it off those first couple of bars, and if you didn't have it there, you could draw it off the top and drag it down, and then you know that there's no break of that yet, and that's the main thing that would have kept you out of that trade. And that's why I'm always saying draw these short-term trend lines. Look, and that was pretty easy to find that off the highs. You can see that right there. Even if you only had this so far, or even that, notice that off those highs, and you drag it down to the lows, and look at it. And it comes down and it closes inside there and closes inside there and bounces off of it. That's telling you something. So make sure you use, even though you think this thing, for all intents and purposes, it looks like this is a good channel and probably going lower, but every channel gets a break at some point and a retest. And even if you'd have gone short right here, I don't think there's enough room to get out before getting here. So that's something else that makes this suspect, because this is not a strong trend. Remember, now if this was a strong trend, I wouldn't be too worried about that. But your entry on a stop right there is 77 3/4, and there's not enough room to get out before hitting the low there, especially if you use that for the signal bar, which you can't use this for the signal bar on my chart. I hope that's obvious. I'm actually doing a lesson. It's probably posted tomorrow sometime, talking about this exact thing, and it's going to be a really good lesson. So I encourage you to take a look, to be sure you watch that lesson, because it was. I'm surprised I haven't thought about doing that lesson before, but it's going to be really good. And it's going to talk about this very type of thing here, recognizing swing lows and swing highs. And you can see this on his. If he'd have just drawn that trend line right up through there, I think it would have been much clearer. He could have drawn it right off those tops, or even right up through there and drug it down, and you would have seen you didn't have a close outside of it yet. And that's what would have helped keep you out of this trade. The fact that there's a lot of overlap, the dojis, the inside bars, the stems down here. When you start seeing those stems, that means a lot. It takes a lot of work for a bar to be trading down here and then the close way back up here. Same thing. It takes a lot of buying to do that. That's a good signal for whatever reason, they're buying this level. People like the price at this level. And, you know, don't ask me why. What it is about it is probably some funds. The buying came in. You had a big correction. So you had a chance to get in this market at a discount, maybe. Those are the kind of things that they're looking at. You know, the funds that buy these things, they're the ones that move the market. Us little guys, we just have to go along. And, uh, and so they decided to buy it here for whatever reason. And if you got food, you just, either exit quickly or reverse and go with them. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap this lesson up. Some good learning stuff here. And again, we'll have some more on this area right here coming up in a chart lesson real quickly. And like I said, it'll probably be posted sometime tomorrow. But I'm going to wrap it up, call it a day. Go enjoy myself. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.